Mr. Speaker, sir, before coming to the bill itself, allow me to comment on 2 points. The first point raised by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition and Honourable Jeewa remarks about the question of fine provided in the two bills. My reading is that we are not proposing 200,000 rupees and 500,000 rupees as minimum fine. These figures are maximum ceiling. If you have a look at page 8 of the quarantine bill, offences, so you can see clearly any person who shall commit an offence and shall on conviction be liable to a fine not exceeding 500,000 rupees and to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. So fine will be imposed according to the nature of the offence. So one must not forget that here we are talking of public health, and it is a good thing to impose a maximum, but the minimum, I am of the opinion, will be imposed by the court, by the magistrate, in nature of the offence. Now, to reply to Honourable Jeewa with regards to the proposed amendment of the Landlord and Tenant Act, which does not cover business premises after the 1st January 2005. My understanding is that at committee stage, amendment will be brought, and copy of all the amendments proposed has already been communicated to all members of the House. So I do hope that Honourable Jeewa has been communicated with a copy of the said amendments. So at page 5, paragraph E, an amendment will be brought to insert after the words notwithstanding the words this act. So I presume the amendment concerning the moratorium of 6 months of rent will also apply to tenants of business premises led after the 1st January 2005. So let's wait for the amendment to be brought. Now, coming to the bill itself, to the two bills, there can be no doubt that the COVID-19 miscellaneous provisions bill and the quarantine bill, which have been presented by our Prime Minister before the House this morning, are absolutely necessary in this difficult and challenging time. These two bills are essential and urgent pieces of legislation. We need to make sure that we are putting in place the necessary legal framework so that people can feel confident about their own safety after COVID-19, and at the same time to respond to any further future emergency situations. So these two bills have all their importance. No one would have ever thought that the world would face such an unprecedented health crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic, I can say, has brought the world to its knees. Like the rest of the world, our country has not been spared from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Let me seize this opportunity to convey my heartfelt condolences to those families who were struck by the loss of a family member. I am, however, relieved for the patients who have recovered from the virus and are back home. Allow me also to take a moment to offer our thanks to our frontline service workers in the fight against this virus. We are here talking of doctors, nurses, health care staff. Without them, there is no way to combat this unprecedented health crisis. I have no doubt that I speak for the House, in fact, for the whole House, when I say to them, thank you. When the first cases of COVID-19 were detected in Mauritius, our Prime Minister was swift in responding to the crisis. Even before the virus could spread much, our government introduced mandatory restrictions to help and see our country through. One must not forget that appropriate actions have been promptly taken by our government to support people in getting through this unprecedented health crisis. The response, I must say, has been very appropriate, prompt, and focused. Our Prime Minister has led. I wonder what would have happened if government had not acted that quickly. We have seen what has happened in other countries like Italy, France, and USA. Mr. Speaker, sir, immediate closure of our borders, a national curfew where people were ordered indoors, a draconian quarantine, closure of schools, public transport halted, a high-powered committee chaired by our Prime Minister on a daily basis, daily press briefings by colleague ministers, amongst all the actions taken by our government. Let me reassure honourable members of the opposition side that the two bills have the very best of intention. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world, I must say, not only in terms of public health, but also in social and economic terms. Allow me to bring to the attention of the House urgent actions taken by my ministry during the COVID-19 period to alleviate the sufferings of the most vulnerable of our society, and also to offer extra protection to our elders and persons with disabilities. I must say we have made sure that vulnerable people get the extra care and support they need. We were very much involved. All along, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have adopted a human approach. Following the closure of shops, supermarkets, and hypermarkets, we all know how difficult it would have been for vulnerable families to access to basic necessities. We fully understand that the circumstances were exceptional and also difficult. A prompt decision was taken by my ministry, by the government, to distribute food packs to vulnerable families. We are here talking about the most vulnerable of the society. We distributed food packs, as has been mentioned by Honorable Sominaden, to 7,900 families eligible and registered under the Social Register of Mauritius, and to 19,779 elders and persons with disabilities benefiting from the carers allowance. We also delivered basic food items to the 27 charitable institutions and to 44 private licensed homes. I must also add that we have repeated this action twice. As you may know, in Mauritius, out of 280,666 beneficiaries of basic pension, around 222,000 beneficiaries are paid through the bank. The remaining 58,665 beneficiaries are paid through post office around the island. In an effort not to put our elders at serious risk, we carried out the payment of basic pension at the residence of beneficiaries in collaboration with the Mauritius Post Limited. An unprecedented initiative. Simple to say, but difficult to do. But we did it. Mr. Speaker, sir, we did it for the 2 consecutive months because we are very much concerned with the health, safety, and security of our elders. Payment to around 496 beneficiaries of social aid was also carried at their residence. Moreover, my ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, have had to adopt a different approach for this year's flu vaccination of our seniors. I must say, to date, 130,000 seniors have been vaccinated through mobile caravans. The aim of this new approach was, of course, to prevent our elders from going out and coming to our centers, our elders to whom we owe so much. Allow me to add also that around 3,000 children with disabilities attending special needs schools are also being vaccinated at their residence. To curb the spread of COVID-19, government has closed schools, but you will all agree with me that studying must not stop. As such, we have also given due regard to the educational needs of children hailing from families eligible under the social register of Mauritius. Tablets will be provided to around 2,772 students of grade 10 to grade 13 who are eligible under the SRM. This measure, I'm sure, will enable them to follow online courses dispensed by the Ministry of Education during the confinement period until the resumption of school on the 1st of August this year. We are also preparing to provide masks to 13,500 adults in 8,023 households eligible under the SRM. 5 masks will be provided to each adult, which represents a total of 67,500 masks for all households. It has been very important, Mr. Speaker, sir, for our government and myself to provide extra care and support to the most vulnerable in our society. They have not been left to walk alone in this difficult situation. We fully understand their concern. At this stage, Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to focus on some of the salient clauses of the COVID-19 bill. I don't intend to comment on the quarantine bill. I'm conscious of time. So, with regards to the COVID-19 bill, an amendment is being proposed to the National Pension Act of 1976. Clause 38 of the COVID-19 bill proposes to amend Section 34 of the National Pension Act of 1976. In fact, during the confinement period, around 1,827 beneficiaries of basic invalidity pension and 1,071 beneficiaries of carers allowance were to be medically boarded for the renewal of their pension, which were about to expire.
Motion is there.
Given that medical boards could not be held during confinement period, we decided to administratively renew their pension automatically on a month-to-month basis. So now we are bringing an amendment to Section 34 of the National Pension Act 1976 so as to give legal effect to this administrative decision. The proposed amendment will empower my ministry to take decisions in the best interest of beneficiaries in any emergency situation. Turning to Clause 9 of the bill, which is about amendments to the Courts Act, the judiciary plays a crucial role in any democratic society. The rationale behind the amendments is not to hinder the good administration and delivery of justice during an emergency period. These amendments seek to do three things. First, to empower the Chief Justice to determine such judicial services as he deems essential. To empower the Chief Justice to make rules to regulate the practice and proceedings before any court during COVID-19. And third, to empower the court to limit the number of persons who may be present in chambers or in a courtroom. The court may also hear a matter remotely by means of a telephonic and electronic or any communication facility as the Chief Justice may determine. Let me now address the amendments proposed to the Insolvency Act. As an attorney, I can speak out of experience. How many petitions are lodged before the Bankruptcy Division with regards to the bankruptcy of individuals and the winding up of companies concerning non-payments of debts? As the law stands now, an individual can be adjudged bankrupt by the Bankruptcy Division of the Supreme Court if he owes a debt of more than 50,000 rupees. As for a company, a statutory demand can be served and a winding up petition may be lodged against it if the debt is more than 100,000 rupees. On top of what is happening, individuals, mostly traders and companies, are facing financial difficulties, and we know very well that they will not be able to meet their financial obligations. Creditors may sue them for non-payment of debt. So it is not good to make the lives of people more difficult. I think this clause is very important. This clause allows the threshold for bankruptcy to be increased from 50,000 to 100,000. The threshold for winding up is also being increased from 100,000 rupees to 250,000, which is a very good thing. This clause goes even further, extending the delay for payment of debt. Following the service of a bankruptcy notice, the delay to pay the debt is being increased from 40 days to 25 days. Following the service of a statutory demand on a company, the delay is increased from 1 month to 2 months. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me now turn to the proposal to amend the Landlord and Tenant Act 1999. In default of payment of rent for even 1 month, a landlord of bad faith may evict a tenant of residential or commercial premises. Overnight, the residential tenant may find himself homeless, while the commercial tenant may lose his business. Nobody should lose their home or business because of COVID-19. So to give people more confidence and reassurance during this hard time, and also to ensure that no tenant loses his home or commercial premises, we are amending the law. On a concluding note, I do think we all realize that we are in a situation of national emergency. This health crisis is without precedent. We must at all costs avoid being hit by a second wave of infections. This is our main concern now. So far, we have acted properly. We have done the things that needed to be done. On the whole, I must say we have coped well. The population as a whole has adjusted to the health crisis. People have understood what is at stake. So this result is a collective effort. National solidarity has prevailed. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want this pandemic to be over. Before ending, I would like to thank each and every Mauritian for their understanding. I'm confident that with the right actions, we will get through this tough time. We will beat this virus together. Today, the House is being asked to vote 2 fundamental and emergency pieces of legislation. On this side of the House, we warmly welcome and commend these 2 bills to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.